Are you talking to me? 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 That's Taxi Driver. That's Travis Bickle. That's Robert De Niro practicing in front of a mirror. And that was the famous scene from 1976, Taxi Driver. Apparently that scene went down without Robert De Niro's really knowing about it. Scorsese had De Niro doing the take in front of a mirror just to get his kinks out of the line, and it turned out being one of the most iconic, monumental scenes of the late 70s cinema period. Paul Schrader's amazing script, Taxi Driver, about a soldier, of course, who comes back from the Vietnam conflict, from the Vietnam War, with a major case of PTSD and malaise, and entirely turned off by American society, and just a basic, disaffected, delusional, somewhat roguish kind of character that spoke to a generation of soldiers that were demobbed, and brought back stateside, a government that really didn't do much to take care of them, and some of the havoc that they were wreaking in various urban settings, in this case in New York City, when they came back and were kind of absorbed back into society. I saw a really great independent film last night called Person of Interest, which is a film by Gregory Bayne, who's from Idaho, and the lead actor who also wrote the screenplay for the film. His name is, I love this name, J. Reuben Appelman. Rube. Every time I say that name, I keep thinking of Hurricane Carter. I don't know why that name stuck in my head. I just got Denzel Washington saying, Rube. Rube, what's your name? Reuben. People call me Rube. Back in the day. Yeah, where was that? Where did that take place? Where did Hurricane Carter get arrested? Was it Baltimore or was it Cleveland? It was one of those cities. Anyway, this film is kind of an homage to Taxi Driver, and it has a lot of similar elements to it. It's shot in a very similar style. It's very gritty, it's very raw. It looks to me like it was done on a 24p cam, so it has a bit of a digital effect to it. I'm not sure if that was done in post or that's an in-camera effect. And I really enjoyed how Appelman portrayed the character known as Terrence Dyer, and then I was trying to think to myself, going, okay, Terrence Dyer, TB, Travis Bickle, TD, Dyer circumstances. I even caught one word in the dialogue when Dyer says the word Dyer, D-I-R-E, as opposed to his last name, which is D-Y-E-R. Just trying to play with it in my mind. Anyway, I really liked the way that he physically portrayed the role. You could see the absolute desperation in the character. He is the kind of character that is still practicing a sort of military lifestyle, even though he's been living, this case, in Seattle for quite some time, back from the war. The delusional episodes that he has, the way that he yanks other people and dragoons other people into his delusions. And I won't tell you exactly what goes on in the film so that I don't spoil it for you. But it was really convincing. I think the casting was spot on, and I told Greg as well, I said, you really had the magic in the casting, which really sewed up, I think, I don't want to attribute a percentage, but a large proportion of the film was totally taken care of because the casting was well done. Small note, I really like artists who can do a lot of different things. I like artists, well, Appelman is a writer. I like the fact that he can act too. The guy, he totally went for it. I mean, he buffed right out. You see him doing, several things like De Niro did back in '76, exercising, whatever, working out, pumping iron, whatever the case is. He totally went there. I'm getting an idea that Appelman's not really like that when he's not in character, but he totally went to the wall. And that was really impressive. And it sort of took away some of the more, I would say, hard to understand, non-linear plot elements in the narrative that would be difficult for people to understand if you hadn't seen Taxi Driver. All of this thing that I'm talking about really brought up two interesting themes that I'm going to just conclude with. The first one is the fact that would people actually be inclined to watch a film of this sort? And do people actually know about Taxi Driver? I'm kind of amazed when I talk to people in different cities in Europe, for example, and I start making references to the Schrader script, to the De Niro role of Travis Bickle, and most people have no bloody clue what I'm talking about. It's kind of amazing. Okay, you account for language differences or perhaps cultural differences, but it's a classic movie. I mean, it's a classic Scorsese movie. Anybody's got to have seen it, even if it's in dubbed or if it's in German or if it's subtitled or whatever. You got to have seen this film. So I kind of find that hard to believe that people will not have seen it. But for those that haven't seen it and that are invited to a screening of Person of Interest, will this create a kind of a renaissance for Taxi Driver? Will people be inclined to go and see Taxi Driver again after seeing Person of Interest? That was an interesting question. I'm tending to think that the audience that watches a film like Person of Interest will already have seen Taxi Driver. This is a group of die-hard independent cinema enthusiasts, cineasts, and other indie filmmakers. It's almost like the Bible. You got to have seen Taxi Driver. I mean, how can you even call yourself a film aficionado if you haven't seen Taxi Driver? Full stop. The second point that I wanted to make was how we end up saying things like, "Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?" We end up doing things like that in our social lives and not even realizing where half of those references come from, saying things like "beyond the pale." Most people don't even know what the pale is, the pale of settlement. Most people have never even heard of it. So I kind of find it funny that people will use all of these pop culture references. Is an independent film like Person of Interest the way to start to spark that pop culture circle again, or is it, I don't know, songs like Gnarls Barkley doing Hall & Oates samples? And then I said to somebody here in Prague, I go, "You know that's a Hall & Oates track." So she goes to me, "Who's Hall & Oates?" Enough said. I think you get the picture. Person of Interest, Gregory Bayne. Go to Facebook, or you can go to their website, thislovelymachine.com. I'm doing this video blog because I'm also going to be doing a blog post about it at pmdforhire.com. This is for the people who don't feel like reading, and then for the people who don't feel like watching a video, now this one is for you. Little sip of coffee just to moisten my parched throat. A lot of damn fine independent cinema that I've seen over the last few days. And as always, 后会有期再见. And that means in Chinese, I wish for you many good things. Take care.